All right, my name is Rich Schmidt. We're here today with Chris and Candice Plewik. It is July 1st, 2026. We're at the Three Goats Tasting Room in Hillsboro. Chris, Candice, thank you both so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
Our first question for you, and either one of you can take this and run with it, as you probably know, is why wine?
You're going to just start off with the heavy stuff, right?
Yeah, we don't ease into it.
Well, it's a longer version of why wine, but initially we had no interest in wine in terms of drinking it, consuming it, making it, doing any of those things. It was not on the forefront of what we wanted to do. A little backstory prior to that, my mom was retiring. She did 33 years in nursing. Fortunately, she loves Candice way more than me. So when we found our property, which we'll get into, she retired, moved on to our property, and what started as it's really nice to have her nearby turned out to be, well, I think it'd be pretty for her to look at a vineyard every day. And that's kind of what started it. We can get way into the details later on, but that's literally the trigger point. It was, I think it'd be pretty for her to look at a vineyard. And Candice looked at me and goes, okay. No experience doing any of that. That's just where it started.
That's incredible. We'll come back. I have many more questions about that. Let's back up a little bit. Talk about life before wine. Candice, tell us about where you were born and raised.
Yeah, so same goes for Chris. We are both born and raised in Sacramento, California, 1983. We're 80s babies. So we actually are high school sweethearts. So we have been together since we were 17 years old, which is now 26 years, 17 years married. So we really don't have a whole lot of life before each other. We most of our life has been fortunately together. Mm-hmm. We're so lucky to say that. So yes, we're NorCal kids, and we basically found our way into Oregon because Chris went to graduate school at the University of Oregon in Eugene. I finished my schooling at Sacramento State, and I decided to follow him up here because we wanted to experience new things. We're open to adventure and a change of scenery and weather. Sacramento's very hot, hundreds all the time. Mm-hmm. So we basically planted our roots in Southwest Portland, and the rest is history.
You mentioned education. Tell me about what you went to school for.
Yeah, so totally unrelated to wine. I went to school and got my Bachelor of Arts in Interior Design.
And Chris?
I got my undergrad in biochemistry and my graduate degree in chemistry.
And what did you think you were going to do with that?
Forensics.
Amazing. And what were your kind of career designs?
So when I decided to pursue interior design, it was a horrible time to do it because we're talking about the 2007, 2008 era. So it was a horrible time to decide to get into a career path that was all about luxury and excessive money when people were losing their jobs and there was the whole market crash. So I had, unfortunately, a very small career in interior design, and I found my way into a whole other different paths of careers, which is a very winding road, but really nice, well-rounded experience in different careers, which led me to wine. And I think that makes me a better business owner overall.
Tell me about some of those experiences.
Yeah, so it's kind of a complicated story. There was a pause in my life when I graduated because soon after I graduated, my dad unfortunately passed away unexpectedly in Sacramento. And so that really, as a 24-year-old puts a lot into perspective, and you think you're grown up at 24, but you're really not. You're still kind of figuring out who you are, and I really still felt like a kid who had to really quickly grow up fast. And so I put myself into a really negative headspace, and so my goal was to just get a stable job. Mm-hmm. So I basically got an administrative job at a high-tech company and basically became like an executive assistant. It was by no means a dream job, but it paid the bills and well, I was just glad to do something that had purpose when I was in a really bad headspace. And then after that, I found myself working eventually for in public work for Washington County. I did that for 9 years in policy and basically project management and federal compliance. You know, very dry, but I'm a very regimented kind of type A perfectionist, so it was actually really fitting for me, and I was darn good at it, but it was not my passion. There was nothing that was igniting joy, and I didn't have that feeling of expressing my creativity in any of those career paths. And so I voluntarily quit 9 years in public work, which was really hard. It was accepting yet another death, not in human form, but in career form. And this time I was choosing me. It was the highest paying job I had ever had, and it was so scary to walk away from that. Especially when you're an adult and you realize, yes, you still do have to pay the bills, and health insurance is very important. But I chose wine. We got into this together. We chose us. We chose to be our own bosses. It has been the best career of my life, the hardest. So tired every day. The work never ends, but I'm finally happy. We found the thing that sparks joy in both of us, and we get to do it together. From the beginning of when we were 17 up until now, I feel like we found what we were meant to do. And it feels right. It's so, long story short, it's a really long winding road into how I got into wine personally and all the different career paths that I found along the way. But I wouldn't have changed it for anything, even when I was unhappy, because it made me who I am today. I learned so much, and I learned to always take the positive wherever you can to make your current spot the best it can be for you. And so that's my advice to anyone, really. Wherever you are, it can get better. It really can. There's something out there waiting for you. Maybe you just haven't found it yet.
Amazing. Chris, I want to talk a little bit about you. You mentioned I was coming up to Eugene to finish your education. Tell me about your educational experience and about life after graduation.
Yeah, so we ended up at the same high-tech company, mainly because it was available, and they required us to do an internship. So as part of the graduate program, they wouldn't let you graduate until you had experience in the real world doing what you just spent your entire academic career doing. And then once you got to see it and your bosses wrote a review, then you could graduate. So no pressure at all whatsoever. And I got to work with some incredibly intelligent people. I forgot more than they know. And just seeing them on a daily basis show up excited to solve the world's problems, whether it was, in particular, it was scanning for cancers and trying to figure out solutions to things that you didn't even know were a problem. That turned amazing. And so that really inspired me. I'm like, okay, you know what? I came home one day and I said, I think I'm going to do my PhD now. And before I jumped into that program, I met with some of the vice presidents of the company. And I said, hey, I'm really interested in this, and I think this is the place I want to be. And that's where I received the best advice in that field was, don't get a graduate degree based on this company. And I looked at him and I asked him, but I like being here. And he goes, the company doesn't know who you are. And that goes for a lot of people. They spend a lot of time doing it, but his advice, and still remain friends to this day, was don't get a PhD or don't get an advanced degree in something just for a company. Figure out what you want to do, and if you want to have that impact in the world, then go do it. Chase your passion. Don't chase the job. Because it can switch around. And ultimately, 2 years after that, they ended up selling. So in the moment, it felt like a giant gut punch, but what it was really telling me is chase what you're really passionate about. And that kind of leads into where we went. But yeah, I had after that, it was a reset, and then I ended up doing public work for 13 years, also with Washington County. And I thought it was going to be using my degree. It ended up not being, but it was very fun, and I enjoyed being in the community and serving the community and that piece really resonated with me. But a lot of long hours, a lot of difficult days, and where the vineyard came in, it's a nice tie-in, was, you know what, I think I'm going to plant a vineyard as an outlet to the day-to-day. Now, as you've probably learned from talking to so many people in the industry, that's not a light decision, but if we had known prior to planting the vineyard how much work it was, I think that would have been such a high level of energy to get over, such a barrier, that we wouldn't have done it. So in a sense, not knowing what we were doing or getting into helped, because you still had that interest and the vigor to go do it without feeling I wonder what this is going to be in 4 months or 6 months or 8 years down the road. What is this going to do? And not knowing was helpful. So in essence, it was, let's just go. And not knowing was the best thing that could happen. So planted the vineyard kind of as an outlet. So I call it gardening on steroids. One of the classes that I had to take as an undergrad was botany. And I hated that class. And I didn't pay attention in that class, but I still passed it. And now, not paying attention to that class has kicked me in the shins multiple times, going, I wish I paid attention to that. And all the cell development mattered, and matters more now than ever, but I was more interested in the chemistry side, and I thought biology wasn't my interest at the time. So why not major in biochem? You know, it makes sense. But yeah, now it's very helpful to look back and go, okay, years after, and I'm sure you guys will figure that, or you've already experienced it, when you've taken a class and it doesn't make any sense in the moment. You're like, okay, I'll just trust and believe. And then 2 years down the road, it clicks. And you're like, oh, that's where it came from. That's why they teach it the way they do. Or when they say, you'll understand it when you get there. I'm like, yeah, I understand it now. Yeah. You don't understand it until that moment when you're standing in the middle of the vineyard going, oh, got it. Material transports and how all these different chemistries work together, and it's environmental, not adding anything to it. It's just when you have rain and you have all these different things and it transports nutrients into the vines. Oh, I get it now. It only took 15 years after the fact, but we're here, and that's okay. So yeah, again, winding path to what we've been doing, but we have that relationship to where I can say, hey, this was a tough day. I don't know if we made the right decision. She's like, it's fine. We'll get there. Yeah. And just that reassurance really makes you appreciate where you've been and where we're going. And
every day's a new day.
Absolutely. Even if yesterday was really tough, which yesterday was really tough, it's a new day. We're excited to talk about where we've been, and every little piece, whether it's a hill or a valley, it's a part of the story. And it's less of a story for us and more just of our lives, because there is no story really. It's just us sharing where we've been month to month, day to day. So we're in, we're all in, and it's really fun now. So chasing that passion and thinking back to that conversation with my previous boss, feels like 20 years ago, really resonates now to say, chase what you're passionate about. And once that spark hit, which I'm sure we'll talk, that changed everything. And now we're just doing what we enjoy.
So before we talk about that spark and about starting this whole project, I'm curious about the previous career, both working for Washington County Public Works. As you look back on that time, what are some of the things you remember fondly? What are some of the projects you accomplished, or some of the things you're sort of proud of from that time?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'm really proud of is, it sounds generic, but it's true. I do feel like I made a difference, and that I did leave the place better than where I found it. The things that I did, especially related to policy, really made things safer for staff, like literally. I'm really proud of the accomplishments that I did there, where the agency I was working for upheld its accreditation, meaning it's of the highest standards in that industry, and that it's like basically saying this is an A+ place to work, because it's safe, it has the most up-to-date progressive standards, and we're very like in the forefront of technology, like, you know, all the keywords, right? I'm really proud of being a part of that and being part of a team that pushed progress forward. In a funny way, that was my way to stretch my creativity, because I am a creative person. And so by being the writer of policies and helping to teach those policies and standards to people, I'm really proud that I was able to leave a lasting impact. We're still friends with some of the people that we used to work with. As a matter of fact, some of them are our club members now, which is kind of full circle, really cool. And they still talk about the classes that I taught and some of the policies that I helped write that have pushed the agency forward. It's cool to say that you left a mark somewhere positively. And basically that's what I'm most proud of, is it's not just one thing, it's a lot of little things that became my lasting, I guess you could say, legacy in a way. Yeah.
Oh, my turn. I have to follow that. Excuse me. Yeah, I think the most impactful thing that I will always take with me is I enjoy teaching. So any of the new staff members that we hired on, later on in my career, I became a coach, essentially, and a trainer. And getting to see them start from day one and going through all the steps and what it takes to be successful was incredibly rewarding. And skipping quite ahead with that, the best part is after they've been on and doing the job for 3 or 4 years, they now want to go on and teach and inspire other people. And the feedback in one of the classes when you're becoming a coach was, who inspired you to become a coach and do better? And just even one person was very, very rewarding to hear that it was me that encouraged them to go on and be a coach and teach others to be better and be the best that they can. That was the most rewarding thing, is leaving that impact on someone else, so much so, even if it was tough, they realized, okay, I want to do this because of Chris. And that was super rewarding. And they're still doing their thing, and they really enjoy what they're doing. So seeing them hit their goals, reach their milestones, the things that we talked about when they first started, what are your goals? What do you want to do? And to see that come to fruition years down the road, and they still text and go, guess what I'm doing? Like, I remember that. You said you wanted to do it. And now they're having kids and expanding family. So that is more important than the career side, is seeing them personally succeed. And they've gotten married, they've had kids, they've become well-rounded instead of just focusing on one thing. It's very easy for us to focus on the professional side, but seeing them succeed personally, that's really rewarding. And I think that's what I'll take from it the most. And here, now that we've kind of expanded into our own thing, and we've hired our first employee, and you get to see the same type of thing, completely different environment, but you get to see them start, and you have that influence on, this is where we like to see our culture go. And seeing that grow and flourish, and that is now almost that full circle of, okay, so everything that we did learn and put into practice every day, no different here. Different environment, but same type of skill set. But equally rewarding.
Okay, so you have the idea of a vineyard as a nice little side project, which is pretty funny. I do have to say that is good. Tell me about getting it started. Tell me about the first steps towards wine.
Oh my God.
All right. No. This is we have these conversations all the time,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it. I'm going full throttle in this. All right. So where it came from was, I think it'd be pretty to have my mom look at a vineyard every day. Her thing was, okay. It's where it started.
What year?
That was 2018. I think we actually started talking about it in 2017,
Yeah.
but it was like middle of summer. And even as a complete novice, I realized when it's 100 degrees outside, don't plant anything. The chances of survival probably aren't great, even grapes.
You did learn that at least, yeah.
Yeah, so that was bonus. So we started planting and I had no idea. We reached out to a vineyard maintenance company, I can't remember what they were at the time, to see how much would it be to plant basically just an acre of vines. I learned a lot from that process too. Someone came up and they just looked at me and said, this is really small. And without context, I'm like, oh, that's not a great way to start this process out. But what it turned out to be is they work in scales that are 40 times this. So it's 25 acres, but that's not 40 times, I realize. 25 acres, 40 acres, 100 acres. That's what they focused on. So of course, now that I know, an acre is a lot of equipment to come up for a not quite as large parcel to do it. And then I realized it's about $40,000. Even at that time, with labor, machines, all these things, I'm like, I don't know. We can't afford that.
The answer's no.
The answer's no. Yeah, I came inside. I'm like, well, that was about $40,000. And she goes, you didn't say yes. I'm like, no, not at all. There's no way I said yes. So that's kind of what triggered the, okay, now how would this work? So reached out to a few other people. Another vineyard manager was really awesome because I had no idea what to do. And he's like, well, it just starts with kind of clearing the grass that's here. You have to start with bare dirt because if you try to plant vines where there's other things, other, growth, grass, blackberry, which is horrible in our area, they won't survive. All those other things will outcompete them, and you'll plant this, and they'll die within a year. So that's where it started. Is we just kind of cleared the grass, cleared just a nice little spot, and I was really into drones at the time, so I was taking photos of our property, and then I stood out there in the middle of this dirt. Going, I don't know. We got it flat-ish. It's still on a slope, but I mean the ground itself was usable. And I came inside and go, I don't know what's next.
Now what do we do?
Now what? It's nice in theory to have that. So I went to a store and I got a 300-foot tape measure and some marking paint. I'm not kidding. This is very true. Every single word is true. So I'm out there with a 300-foot tape measure, and I've never used a string line in that scale before. And so I'm hitting my pins at the top, and I think I'm trying to get 90 degrees on the property line. And I talked to our neighbors, and I said, this is what our plan is. And they're like, sure, do what you want. Of course, there was no like, oh, I planted a vineyard before, let me help you. No one knew in that area what was going on. So I'm out there trying to get a 90-degree angle on the property line. And these aren't professional tools, mind you. It's just me and kind of eyeballing it in a little 90-degree angle. Set my first pin, pulled it down the hill. Everything's walking. I didn't have any of the utility vehicles that you should probably have. So I hit the first pin, 200 feet down, spray paint every 4 feet. Next one, the whole thing. I think I was out there for 3 days just marking, trying to make sure. Now I know that everything's like GPS tagged and they have equipment that puts in all these things. So that's where it started. 300-foot tape measure and spray paint. Got it out there. I'm not kidding. The day I finished, this was, I think, at the end of October. I don't remember now. I try to forget that part. The day after I finished spray painting, it poured rain. And I bought this marking paint at Wilco. I thought, well, it says marking paint. This should be good. Fully not realizing that it's dirt, right? And now it's on a slope. So I'm just sitting in the house going, I think I have to redo all of that.
Yeah.
I just forgot about it. I'm like, I'll check it in the morning, daylight.
Maybe it's just a nightmare.
Maybe I woke up and I just thought something. And I walked outside and all the marks were there. I'm like, okay, this is a good start. So I'm like, okay, tomorrow is when it starts. In November, we got the vines in. And I thought, all right, this is where it's going to start. So I went out there, the first one. I literally had a shovel. I'm like, man, you know what? They came in the little planting containers. That it can't be that much. It was like 18 inches, whatever.
Good starter kit, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like it has a measuring device. Like that's as far as I need to go. So I'm out there digging it, and I realize this is not the soil that you can dig by hand at all. And we're in the Tualatin Hills AVA, and so we planted before the AVA was even a thing. They were in the final processes or the process of getting that labeled. And so I'm out there, I'm not kidding, I dig the first 3 holes with a shovel. I go inside, I go, I'm gonna be out here for years. There is no way. How do people do this?
Yeah.
And this is, thank goodness, I found Harbor Freight. And it sounds weird, everybody knows Harbor Freight exists. And then I went in there and I go, there has to be something that like digs holes.
If only there was a tool.
We were city kids that lived in Beaverton.
We didn't know what we were doing.
And we moved out, and now we're playing farmer in the very early stages of, there has to be a hole digging thing. Yeah, they're called augers. The moment I saw that, my eyes got
It was like a
so
glow.
excited. It was glimmering. It was almost like this light came down, and it's showing me this box of, it's an auger. And they had a person literally on the front of the box digging a hole.
You're like, I want to be that guy.
That looks amazing. So I buy the thing. I thought it was the best deal on the planet. I don't even remember how much it was at the time. It was like one of those $20 super coupons. So it was now $160. I'm like, this is going to be worth it. And they're like, do you want to buy a warranty? Normally I say no. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be out here for a while. I'm going to buy the warranty. So I buy the warranty. It was, it's like a fifth or half. It's like a half of how much it is. So I spent $160 on this, but I spent $79 on a warranty.
That's how they get you.
I'm like, man, I've never done this before. Whatever, it'll be fine. So I get out there. I get like 10 holes into this. The auger breaks. I'm like, so I take it back. This is where I also learned you not only have to drain something you're returning of fuel, but there's also the bulb for the carburetor that you have to empty out. I learned that quickly, but they were nice. They swapped it out. I went through that process 5 times. So the warranty paid for itself. Essentially 1,200 holes later, and in between stopping, driving into town, getting the new auger, coming back. I think they restocked the one in Hillsborough just for me.
They're like, we're going to see this guy again.
Never seen so many augers fly off the shelf in a short period of time. This was about 2 weeks worth of me, all right, going back. And that's where it started. Literally, got it done. And I'm like, okay. Got the holes done. And I didn't know at the time. They were taking photos, well, it was my mom mainly, because now she was up there looking at her vineyard, taking photos of me in the dirt and mud and falling over and all this other stuff. And if you go back on our Instagram, all the way to the very first post, we had no idea what we were doing. And I took a photo of my boot, covered in this clay. We have amazing soil, but it is the equivalent of putting a cement block on your foot and trying to walk around.
Heavy, yeah.
It is unreal. So I just took a photo. I'm like, hey, let's just put this on our social media account. I had no idea. And that's literally, I think that day that I finished digging holes, put that on there, and that's where it started.
Yeah.
We haven't edited anything on our Instagram. Everything that we've posted is literally where we've started. And that's where it was. So after digging the holes, do you want to add anything to that before I get way carried away with this?
Go ahead, yeah.
Beautifully is very kind of you. So dig all the holes, and then now I just have vines. So I had no idea how to drive a trailer, right, at that time. I've towed a few things, but when you get a smaller trailer, it's a lot harder to navigate. So the vines come in, and I have to go meet this guy down at the end of our road because they can't get a bigger truck up where we're at. No problem. I'll take the trailer. It's going to be simple. I'll just take the trailer, go down there and pick everything up. The guy ended up driving my truck and trailer back up because I couldn't figure out how to back things up, and
Because we're literally new at everything. Everything we do, it's the first time.
This seems to be a theme with a lot of stuff that we're doing. And I can't back this thing up. I'm down at the end of our road trying to figure it out. And the guy just goes, I'll do it. In the nicest way possible. He's trying to say, bless your heart for trying this. And I mean, I helped him unload the truck, so there was a positive to it. He didn't have to do all the manual labor. Got it into the trailer. He drives it. It's literally like 5 minutes for him. I think he was now probably recording me, just trying to figure out, look, this poor soul can't figure out how to back up this trailer. And we got it up there, and that's where it started. And I had to take a break after that. I'm like, I don't know if this is the right move, but we got it. And I think a couple weeks before the vines came in, we ended up buying a little side-by-side utility vehicle. So I was able to, feel proud and load all these trays of grapes in there and drive it into the vineyard. This is all of 23 rows of vines that I drove in there, and now I'm just standing there and looking at it and going, all right, now what? And I think it took me a day and a half to get all the vines in, planted, and looked good. Didn't have any of the posts or poles or anything at that point. Got it planted. Didn't think we need anything else because they're now going into dormant season, so wet. Enough moisture in the ground to get them through the winter. I think we're good. That's where it started or we left it there until the next year, early on. So after we got out of the frost, I ended up doing all of the posts and end posts and everything else. Again, you learn that there's equipment that is specifically made for line posts and end posts. I was just using initially for the line post just a hammer. And then I learned from my neighbor who saw me, hey, they make these things called post pounders. Oh, where do I get one of those? One of those fancy contraptions. He's like, literally anywhere. Bi-Mart probably has it. You could just go find something. So I found one. And I go through. And again, this soil is not for the faint of heart, because just below the surface, we have like basalt and things that are not meant for humans to just punch through. But I gave it a go, and about halfway through the vineyard, I'm like, I can't. Everything hurts so bad. And you find out, like, people have made, it's been 50 years now, but they made gas-powered or anything, like, post pounders that have more energy behind them besides a single human who's fatigued after hours of post pounding. So I find one, I buy it. It comes in from like this specialty farm store, and I get it, and I felt like old school home improvement. Like, oh, more power. And I zipped through the rest of that in probably an hour, where it had taken me days for the first half. Like, okay, so they make things that are meant to make a lot of this easier. That's where it started. Finished the half in probably a 20th of the time that it would have taken me. And then the end post came. I'm like, well, this doesn't fit. I'm literally out there trying to make an adapter. That was the first kind of start of being a farmer. Is you try to make things work. You have a tool. Let's try to figure out how to make this work. So I'm out there, I'm trying to use different size things to get on these end posts. And the end posts are much larger. You learn things as you go. And these end posts are so large, I'm like, I don't know. So I went to the store and bought a 30-pound sledgehammer. And that's how I also bought, another store had a digital angle monitor. I'm like, oh, these are supposed to be at 45 degrees. At the end post, great. So I put the first one in at 45 degrees. If this is the ground, this is where my first end post was, not taking into consideration that we have a slope on our hill. So a slope plus 45 degrees is very small. And so my first end post was probably at the very end of it, 5 inches off the ground. Like, that's not how this is supposed to work. So then I had to take into consideration all the math that I went through and go, oh, the 45 degrees to the slope is much different than what I had calculated initially. Still used the sledgehammer and got all of our end posts in. They're on both sides. I thought I was done with one side, and then realized, oh, they're end posts. The end of rows is both sides. Great. So I'll do that tomorrow. And that's kind of how this all worked, is we're learning as we go. And I think if I had known what needed to happen to get this vineyard in, again, that energy level would have been so high to go, I don't know if I really want to do that. I don't think we should do that. And then it also gave me perspective on everything else that we've done in this profession and in the industry, why things are so expensive. When someone came out and gave us a quote of $40,000, when I was finished, I go, well worth it. 100%.
Yeah.
You understand how much work, and the people that do this day in and day out and all the experience that they've had, totally get it. But what made it even more special years down the road, when our first vintage hit and we were able to harvest for the first time, all of those things, all the peaks of being excited, and then you're out there in the mud trying to do things by hand where it's not even physically possible, but you gave it an effort, and you harvest and you go, that was worth it. Nothing can take that away. All the things we've learned, that was all well worth the very first vintage when you harvested that.
Well, it's cool to say it's hand planted. Not a lot of people with vineyards can say, it's my vineyard and I touched everything that's in it and I did it by hand. It may have been caveman style, but it's our vineyard.
You're not wrong. Yeah, you are not wrong.
Just hitting rocks with big rocks.
You know what?
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then I just figured out that there's bigger rocks and then gas-powered rocks. Yeah, that's very well said. We just hit things heavier and harder than we needed to.
When you were looking for vines, looking for materials, how did you know where to buy them? What to buy?
I think that's where my research brain kind of took over, and Oregon and many new older vineyards were dealing with phylloxera, right? And they've persisted, and all the self-rooted vines are now getting pulled out. Not because you want to, but just because those bugs have constricted the sap flow. So I wanted to figure out, clearly there had to be something that was made. Since then, we have a lot of intelligent people working on these problems. UC Davis, Cornell, Washington State, Oregon State, all these big brain powers were trying to solve issues and what we needed to do. So I found rootstock, and that was all new to me too. What does rootstock actually mean? Everything that was really resistant to these pests or diseases, they figured out how to combine the cultivars and the rootstock and make it work. Mm-hmm. So that was the only thing I knew. I knew that we wanted Pinot, and we wanted a bolder Pinot, so we went with a Pommard clone. And then we found a rootstock that was resistant to a lot of the disease pressures that we have in our area. That's where it started, and I tried to figure out where you can buy it, and a lot of people around here, they had one or two people that they usually bought from, and so I linked up with one of the folks out in Dundee, and he walked me through the process and how it worked. And that's other than just researching what we wanted to put in the ground. One, we wanted to take care of our area that we are now lucky to take care of. The land that we are on, we want to be stewards of it and carry it on and do it in the most respectful manner. So whatever's next, it's not damaged, it's well taken care of and loved. And so that was my only request for him, is I want to do this right. I don't want to introduce anything into the area that wasn't native. What do we have available? That's where it started. And then ordered 1,300 vines, I think, just under. That's where we're at, and that's where it started. Yep. Nothing more than that. I had no idea.
Easy.
We don't have a legacy in wine. We don't have any family history. This is it. We're just making a go at it, and we're gonna do it the best that we can. Obviously, it wasn't going to be perfect, clearly, but we were going to give it a go. That's all that mattered.
Once you had it in the ground, once you had your posts up, once you had a vineyard, what did you think would happen next? What was what were your intentions with those vines and those grapes?
Oh, this gets better. Just after it was in, I thought, I'm not kidding, we're done. That was a lot of work. And then as it goes through the rainy season and all this, don't really realize that once you kind of clear the land in terms of grasses and all that other stuff that we talked about, it wants to grow back. Didn't think about that part. So midway through growing season, I go, the vines are hidden. That's weird. I thought, like, you see all these other vineyards and they're maintained. Like, they look amazing. Oh, wait a minute.
It doesn't just stop after you plant it.
That's us.
Yeah.
That we have to, oh boy. So I reached out to another vineyard manager. At the same time, we didn't have any fencing up around either. So deer pressure is real in our area. Had no idea that fresh vines, when they just start growing every year, it's like candy to deer. Yeah, so the very first year, I think it was 2019, the first growth year, deer ate it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. I was out here yesterday and there was green leaves that were starting to form. Now they're all gone. So you wait a couple weeks and, oh, the green's back. Now I know. It's the secondary buds had pushed. And so they're growing. I go out a couple days later, those are gone. I'm like, what is happening? Do we get faulty vines? Yeah. You think of all these things like...
We got like the lemons of the vines, yeah.
Like, what is happening? So I'm like, I know. And then you see a deer and you're, oh, I bet that's what it is. So I found some deer netting and just literally put it on the end posts around the vineyard. That was it. I'm like, perfect, solved it. That did not solve it. Deer easily crawl under that stuff, and it took several years and iterations of fencing to know, oh, okay, that this is, now you know why some vineyards, some are lucky, or they have enough grapes where they just kind of, you can have some, it's fine. But for us, that was it. So we didn't know where this was going to go, and what ended up happening years down the road is we figured out our fencing. So it's called 3D fencing for all the novice farmers before that. So not only did we have some strings of strands, see, I'm still learning, strands of electrical fence, and then it's backed up with deer fencing. So they can't really see that well through it, and they won't jump over the fence if they don't know what's on the other side. So that took us a few years to figure out, but we got it.
Yeah.
And
oh no, please go ahead. Ask away.
At what point did actually making wine become something you thought you would do?
Yeah, I think you can touch on what we initially thought we were going to do with the vineyard.
You know, we really honestly thought we were going to be vineyard growers, grape growers, and we were going to sell it to winemakers. We had no intention in winemaking whatsoever. So that was the original intention for, I would say, about a year. And Chris, being Chris, if you know who he is a person who wants to always try things, even if he knows nothing about it. He gets obsessively interested in it, and he will research it until he can figure out how to do it. So he was like, I would really hate myself if I did all this work to plant these grapes and didn't even at least try to make some wine out of this, because then what was the point? There has to be more than just growing it. Maybe I could just at least try. Worst case, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and I'm not a good winemaker. It's okay. Like, no harm, no foul. So Chris started aligning himself with a local winemaker, Jared Rallison. That is his mentor. So he started volunteering at Rallison Cellars in the winery. And that's basically the starting point of the winemaking chapter. He started cleaning, and he kind of built his way up from there. He was basically Chris the janitor. He did that for even a few years. And then he did bottling, and then he basically earned the trust of Jared to allow Jared to be like, okay, on to the next step. What do you want to know? And Chris said, teach me everything you know.
Just a light ask.
Just a very light ask. Please give me your 25 years of knowledge in this one day right now. No, but basically I started tagging along. One day Chris came home really late at night after doing punch downs at Jared's winery, and he said, hey, do you want to help me? I'm like, what is punch downs? I don't even know what that is. And he showed me a photo of it, and I'm like, so it's a toilet plunger you put in a vat of grapes? I want to do that too. What's that? That looks fun. And so I started helping every once in a while. And I don't know if we're just like gluttons for punishment. All the hard work and sweat, yet again, I'm like, I kind of like this. And so we found ourselves helping out a few years, and we helped with their harvest and their cellar season. And basically that is what started the winemaking process for Chris and me as well, is finding a mentor. It was not through education, that I guess you could say the more traditional way. It was learning on the street. We learned with our hands. We learned by listening, by literally doing the actual work in a real life scenario, not through a book. We totally respect schooling, having both come from education, but this was something we're like, you know what, let's just learn the old-fashioned way with our hands. And that is basically that's the bug that bit us right there, is we got obsessed with winemaking and wanting to learn. And it all started with a batch of Chardonnay. We got some Chardonnay grapes, and in 2020 we made a whole bunch of Chardonnay wine, not knowing really what we were doing, but it was a pretty darn good wine, right, Chris?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go back, I just cleaned tanks, cleaned hoses, cleaned floors, just to be immersed in what this is. Because how it started is once I aligned with Jared, say, hey, what's the worst thing in winemaking? And anybody will clearly say it's cleaning.
Winemaking is 90% cleaning.
And making sure things are clean. You don't want any, just cleaning. Cleaning is the number one priority. Literally did that for a couple years, and then afterwards, what's the second worst thing in winemaking? It's bottling, because it's bottling and then cleaning. It's still cleaning, but now you get to use cases and cases and move it, and everything hurts. That's kind of where that starts. And then in 2020, the person that I aligned with for the vineyard maintenance and management, we're still doing it all ourselves, but I found out through another friend, like, hey, Brad Young at Scotch Church Road Vineyard, he was an agronomist for like 30 years. Why don't you reach out? He's really nice. I go, well, he's not gonna, I'm a baby farmer. Why is he gonna talk to me? I literally texted him. Within 10 minutes, he responded back, let me know what you need. Oh, and this will go into what we think of the Oregon wine industry.
Yeah.
And he said, what do you need? How can I help you out? And I said, well, this is what I'm dealing with. I have all this growth, I have all this stuff. And he helped me through that part. And then that was probably in 2019. And then so a year later, he goes, hey, I have a ton of extra Chardonnay grapes. Do you want some to try making wine? And at that point, I'd been with Jared for about 3.5, 4 years. And I said, hey, my friend has some extra Chardonnay. Is it okay if I try to make wine? He goes, absolutely, bring it in. So we did. Started with a ton of Chardonnay, and based on everything that I had been surrounding myself with and learning from Jared and asking way too many questions, and I then found out that I was his first mentee. So he had never taken on another one, and I guarantee you he won't take on another one.
He's probably like, that's more work than making the wine.
That was a lot, but I asked a ton of questions and was always interested in trying to figure out, well, why? Why this? Why did this happen? He goes, just try it. Try it the first year. We'll guide you through how this process works. Just believe in what we're doing. Okay. Very hard for someone with a chemistry background to just let things happen.
Yeah.
But it's okay. You trust the process, and just like our previous roles where we were teachers and showing people how things work, now it was time to believe in what we had always taught. They're helping you. They're not going to steer you in a weird path. Just trust it. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. Trusted it. Turned out really well, and that's when you find out it's very exciting to get grapes, even any amount. And then you realize the logistics behind it. There's barrels, and then there's glassware, or just glass, and corks, and closures, and all these different things that you don't necessarily think about when someone offers you some of those things. On the back end, there's a lot. And that process helped a lot, especially with the mentor going, hey, trust the process. I got you. This is what you need to think of. And stepping through that first year, all the different things, what is required to make wine, was very impactful. And we still use that, of course, to this day. But what came out of it is, as I was going through and watching this go from fruit and transitioning into a wine, it turned out to be a very beautiful wine. And the minute that we tasted it, after a couple months in barrel, that spark hit. I'm like, this is it. This is what I think I want to do. And then she came in the winery, tried it, and he goes, okay, this is really good. I think we might be okay at this. And that's where it turned out. And that's literally the moment that sparked everything from then on. We're like, okay, this is what we're doing. And the good thing is that was a year before our first harvest on our own vineyard. So it gave us that experience of what it takes to do, all the pieces and parts. We may not have known everything, and the picture may not have been super clear, but we knew in general where we wanted to go, where this whole winemaking thing could take us. Not monetarily or anything, just passion. This is it. This is the moment that I think is going to generate where we go from here on out. And that's kind of what started the interest in winemaking. It was that moment. All the things leading up to it, but there was that clear moment of, this is special. All right, let's see what else we can do.
I'm going to add something that's kind of like a segue. It's not definitely the answer to the question, but I'm good. I feel like I'm going to die if I don't say this. Because I'm so proud of this. This is a moment in our journey that I'm just so proud of because it's so full of grit and it's who we are. You know, once we made the wine, the other hardest thing about winemaking is how do you sell it? So you made the wine, and I'll never forget. Jared said, "Okay, now sell it," and we're like, what? How do we do that? Like, he's like, you got to figure it out. Everybody else had to figure it out.
Of course.
And so we're like, okay. So, you know, being elder millennials and like trying to be savvy with technology and stuff. And like, I had never done social media before Instagram. It was necessary for us as a business to do Instagram, to get our name out there. That's how anyone ever knew who we were. We use that as our superpower. And so this is what I'm just so proud of. We literally were selling direct to consumer through Instagram. So I don't know how, but people just started following our story and started following us on Instagram, discovering who little Three Goats Vineyard was. And leading up to the first wine, that Chardonnay, we started getting little, direct messages on the side. Can I buy a bottle? And we're like, wait, they want to buy our wine? Are you serious? It did not matter where they lived or what time. We dropped everything we did. And whenever somebody direct messaged us, we would drive that bottle to them free of charge. It didn't matter. So we live in Gaston, and we would literally like race home from work and fight through rush hour traffic to deliver a bottle of Chardonnay to freaking Milwaukee. Like, it didn't matter. But you know what? When you are your own business owner and you put your own craft into a bottle and somebody wants your product, the world stopped for us, and it didn't matter what it took for us to get it to that person. It was just the best feeling that I still think about to this day. Mm-hmm. Nothing can replace that feeling, that first bottle, the first, vintage sold out. That is freaking cool. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I really wanted to get out there was we started on Instagram. We are, I guess you could say, kind of like that new age winery that really used the power of social media. That is what got Three Goats out there. That's how people even know who we are. That's how they ordered our wine, through DMs. And it all started there. And this is all meanwhile in the background, our Pinot Noir is still growing, and it's not worthy of bottling yet because we got to get a few of those. I don't know the terminology of it, Chris. Those first few younger years, get the berries out, and they need to plant their roots a little bit deeper in order to be worthy of a first vintage. Our first vintage, by the way, was 2021. So we're doing all this in the background. Don't have a tasting room. Don't have an outlet to sell the wine because we're as micro boutique as it gets. 50 cases. That's all we had at first, and that's how it all started. And I'm just so proud of that. It's something that I will take with me forever because we literally started from nothing. Mm-hmm. And we created this whole thing by just putting ourselves out there. And Instagram was a huge outlet for us.
Tell us about why it's Three Goats Vineyard.
Yeah. So this is a really cool segue, to the whole planting of the vines. We looked at each other and we're like, okay, if we're going to be serious farmers, we need a farm animal. Because no one's going to take us seriously if we have this property and we're a big deal now. We planted this crop. But it's not the complete picture of an idyllic farmer. So we had some friends who lived locally at the time, and they had a whole bunch of different animals, and they were just complete pros at all the different kind of barn animals that you can have. They knew everything. And at the time, she's like, we have a bunch of baby goats. I actually recommend, as first-time farmers and people who don't know a lot about farm animals, this is a really good beginner animal. They're not as hard to kill. They're somewhat easy to maintain. They're just like dogs on steroids. And we're like, oh, we like dogs, so we could do this. And so we basically went to their property, which actually at the time was just 5 minutes from our house, so very convenient. And there are these baby goats. Who doesn't love baby goats? And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to get these goats. And at the time, we only wanted 2. Actually, I only wanted 1 because I'm like, one's a lot already. But then our friend was like, they get lonely. They should probably have a partner. I'm like, okay, 2's max. Well, there was this outcast other outlier goat on the side that nobody wanted, and he had a really weird personality at the time where he was kind of he was very skittish and trusted nobody. And she's like, buy 2 get 1 free, and we're like, what's 1 more at this point? Let's get that one. Let's get the big brother. They're all siblings. These 3 goats. So we actually do own 3 goats. They are alive still today. They're how old now?
9.
They just turned 9 years old, and that is literally the namesake of our vineyard and our brand. The 3 goats are named after s'mores because we love to go camping. We love, whenever we go camping, whenever we have the time to nowadays, one of the things we love to do is you got to make the quintessential s'mores at the campfire. And what are the ingredients in s'mores? Marshmallow. That's the girl. Marshmallow is her name, but we call her Melly for short. And the boys are Graham, like graham cracker, and Herschel, which is the lounge that we're sitting in right now. And Herschel's like Hershey bar. So Herschel was the free goat, by the way.
Free goat.
Yeah. And he's now not skittish. He's so lovable. You can hug him. He's so sweet. He has the very proper goatee for a goat. He looks like a real big boy goat, and they're very sweet. But they're more than just mascots. For us, they are a symbol of where we are today, of our entire farming journey, winemaking journey, being city kids, putting ourselves out there into rural country life. The 3 goats for us is a symbol of this chapter in our life. And so they're more than just cute goat mascots. They are an icon for who we are as people in this moment right now.
Yeah, to add to the 3 goats piece, I had, again, the same city kids going to be farmers. I thought they would be perfect because I've seen other animals in vineyards.
Oh, okay. I know what you're going to say.
To maintain all the weeds and stuff during the winter. So, perfect. Came time to let them in the vineyard. And then quickly realized that there are differences between browsers and grazers. Sheep are grazers. Their heads are down and they graze on the grass. Goats are browsers. They go up. So 30 seconds into them being in the vineyard, they went right up to the vines and started chewing them.
No.
35 seconds after that decision, they were being carried out and they have not been back in. So the ultimate goal of having them be this monster, you'd eat everything.
We thought they were going to mow.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go with. Monster mowers, and they were not.
They're just monsters.
They are just fancy dogs.
They're fancy dogs. They're so spoiled.
But yeah, that was a very quick learning experience.
Yeah.
We already just dealt with a deer.
Yeah.
So now that's not going to happen.
Self-inflicted wounds this
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And at the same time when everything's going on, so we got them, planted the vineyard, and we're getting going. 2020, we do the Chardonnay. So not only was that the first time in doing everything, so we had the other issues that were going on around 2020. Got out of 2020, and then 2021 was this heat dome. So we were starting to feel like us getting into the industry just triggered all these different things.
Why is it like the apocalypse?
So we
right
dealt
now?
with the deer. Then we had the other thing that happened in 2020 with,
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, and then
What? What was weird about that? Yeah.
and then 2021 was this heat dome that came over the Pacific Northwest. So we were starting to think, oh boy, what a time to do this. And this was our first year. And I'm quickly like figuring out what does heat do to the vines and all this
Yeah,
other
it's
stuff.
scary.
Oh, they shut down. What? I don't quite know what that means, but I think they'll be okay. So it was fine. But all these back-to-back issues, deer, this, like this, people earn their keep. Farmers are no joke. It doesn't matter. Mother Nature doesn't care about your plans or if you have a vacation coming up or family to visit. It does not care. And if you put something off a day,
Yeah, we learned that.
you will pay for it.
There's no such thing as convenience in farming. You have to do things when they have to be done.
Absolutely.
It will not wait for you. You have to do it.
And so that gave us the perspective. Even all the joking and lightheartedness, there is nothing funny about farming.
No.
You earn your keep.
So hard.
Everybody who's out there before daybreak and you finish well after sunset, it gave us an appreciation of all the things that we didn't know before.
Didn't know.
Even our little pocket as wine growers, you see this incredible amount of energy and time and experience and the things you can't replicate. Wow, do we have a better appreciation of all that. And each year, each day, each minute that you're out there, okay, you're earning your keep for sure. Farmers are absolutely no joke, and they work harder than we ever thought.
And I think it makes us better wine makers because not only do we have an appreciation and knowledge of somewhat of what it takes, but we understand like the finesse of growing the grapes and what is needed to make the kind of wine we want to make. So it's like this more global, full world understanding of the liquid that's being put in the bottle we're putting out. I'm actually really glad that even though it's really hard to farm, I'm glad that we do have that 1 acre of Pinot, because even though we get most of our grapes from other vineyards throughout the Pacific Northwest, I don't feel like we would truly appreciate the effort and time it would take to farm those as much as we do now. Yeah.
So you mentioned obviously 2020 first wine with the Chardonnay. Vines coming online in 2021. Tell me about first harvest from your own vineyard and starting to make more wine.
Yeah, absolutely. I ended up taking the day off of work. We ran some panels. So I figured out what that was. You pull clusters and different grapes, and then you get them analyzed. I learned early on from Jared, the labs will give you a guide, but that doesn't take away from you actually going out there and trying the grapes and learning about flavors. With a young vineyard, we weren't too worried about that. It's not going to give you a lot of complexity. They're still trying to get the roots farther down to really get that flavor profile. So we weren't too worried about it, but chemically they were ripe. So I'm like, okay, we'll just harvest on a Wednesday and I'll take the day off. And she couldn't get the day off, so I did. And I started at 5:30 in the morning. Didn't have any help. I just went out there myself. I'm like, oh, no, it's only an acre.
With like Home Depot buckets or
Home Depot
something?
buckets.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
4 of them, and I had a luggage scale.
Oh yeah, that's right. Everything we do is so manual.
Yeah, so I had a luggage scale. So the slope, after you do it multiple times, it gets to be a lot, so you get to be fatigued. So I started at the bottom of row 1, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was just carrying all these buckets with me and clipping them. There's not a lot of fruit out there, but there's a lot when you do it by yourself. So I'm just up there, take it up to the top, and I was measuring each one as I went. I'm like, oh, cool, 25 pounds. Dump it in there. And I realized that was only one little section on row 1. I'm like,
This is gonna
oh. So, the hours keep going, and I'm just going row by row. And I think by 1 p.m., I'm like, okay, I'm getting pretty close. I was not pretty close. I was only probably half of the way, but that wasn't the longer rows. So I think I finished up by about 4 o'clock, solo harvest, drive it to the winery. And that's how it took me about 7.5 hours all in solo to do our first harvest. And it was tough, but at no point did I ever feel like I'm gonna quit. This is too difficult. I'm tired. I think I took a break, ate lunch, came back out there and finished it. But it was so exciting to see all these things that we had talked about for years. Now, this is real. This is a real thing. You better do this, and there's no complaining. That's kind of the mindset that I had when I was going out there. Is you planted this. Mm-hmm. We planted this. This is the start of something that we don't know where it's going to go. But every single vine, every single grape that came out of that vineyard that first year was touched by hand. Mm-hmm. And each part and each cluster was now, okay, that was really cool. Mm-hmm. Really cool. So as you see this bucket, it changes over time. The excitement when you see it, it's a different perspective on it, but nothing changes in terms of excitement. You just know more. Mm-hmm. And so clipping those first couple clusters and then keep going. Okay, and now you have buckets. I take up to the top and I'm literally with a luggage hanger, like, 23 pounds, perfect. And then just kept doing it over and over and over.
I can't remember, so that actually worked?
It did, I think. It gave us a good estimate. And Jared was like, hey, my equipment's too large for this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember this.
And this is midway through, because he's calling, he goes, hey, are you going to show up today, or what's going on? And they're just waiting. They're having a good time. And I said, I think I need a couple more hours. He goes, who's helping you? I said, no one. And so we finally get there, and that's when I learned, and I knew leading up to it that his equipment was too large just for a small tonnage. So we hand pressed everything. It sounds, it's just, 1,000 pounds. That's 1,000 pounds of hand pressing that we had no experience with. And so, of course, he's sitting there just watching. This takes me back 25 years. I remember when I first did it, but those are all experiences now where I'm like, well, we hand pressed our entire vineyard for our very first vintage, and it adds just another layer of being special. Mm-hmm. And you can never replicate it, nor do I want to replicate that, to be clear.
It was a nice moment in time, yeah.
It was a very nice snapshot of what we were doing and the next step, and even not the next step, just where we started. Yeah. Don't want to repeat that, but it gave a complete understanding of what it took to plant those vines, what it took to care for them, even all the deer and the problems that we had and all the pressures and environment. It led us to that point of knowing what we needed to do to get to that part of actually getting to harvest. So having the first meaningful harvest where we made our own wine, I think our very first one, we were about 20 cases from our own vineyard. Yeah. That's years of work to get 20 cases, and to us it's exciting, and you share that with folks and they're like, 20 cases. In the industry, that that is not a lot, but everybody has that starting point, so they can go back to, I remember we made 3 cases. So at first when we share the story and people are like, 20 cases? That wasn't that's very small. That's a lot, because when people started, we made 4 bottles. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we were able to get some grapes from another vineyard that they had extra. So it wasn't a comparison, and this kind of goes into the Oregon wine industry. It wasn't comparison or knocking us for having 20 cases. It was actually surprise and cheering. Like, that's a lot for your first harvest. Good job. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of work.
So take me through the growth then a little bit of starting to find other grapes, make more wines, sell more wines. Tell me through kind of the stages of growth from there.
Kind of where we figure out what we wanted to make. We knew that we had to make more wine, just from a down the road standpoint. If you wanted to be successful, you had to start thinking about it early on. And this industry is about, for white wine, it's about a year in terms of thought process, but red wines can be 2 years, 3 years out before it's even marketable, right? Because you have to age it and do all these other things with it. But where it started on what we wanted to make is we would be at a restaurant and she'd order something and she'd say, I think I want you to make that. I'm like, okay. That's the powerful thing about wine is you can not even be thinking about what you want to do for business side. It's just you're enjoying a conversation, a great meal, you're out, the weather's beautiful, and then you try something and you go, hey, why don't you try making this?
Yeah, why not?
It's a conversation starter, and that's where our Chenin Blanc started from. And so we tag team a lot of this stuff. We'll try something together, and she's like, hey, I think you should make this. I'm like, okay, find it. Find a vineyard that grows it.
And I usually do.
And my God, does she find it? And it could be on the outskirts of mankind.
Yeah.
And as a smaller producer, sometimes you have to go to those lengths to figure out, I know you normally sell these grapes an acre at a time. We can't, one, financially support that, but two, we don't have the space, and I don't want to overwhelm at the time Jared's winery by bringing in truckloads of grapes. Like, I think he would have, and he would absolutely shun me if I showed up and, hey, I got 25 tons of this. Just close the door. I could see that happening. But we find all these things, and as smaller producers, the Oregon wine industry is like, yeah, we can set aside a ton for you. Oh, thank you so much. And that builds relationships. Because now it's kind of like starting out when you're a teenager. You have to get credit. And if no one knows who you are, they're also taking a risk. Are we going to sell to this person? One, are they going to make good wine with our grapes? Two, are they going to pay us for it? And so you start building these relationships, and that's critically important as you go through and you find vineyards that you work really well with. You find vineyard managers, especially that have been doing it for longer than we had been alive at the time. And just this massive amount of experience and the willingness to help really dictated which vineyards we ended up working with and still have relationships with to this day. Started from a meal. I think I think you should make this, or I think we should try this, or we do a lot of bold reds. Where do they grow the best? Yeah. Or what climate supports that in our winemaking style? And that's been on her. She'll find the vineyards and, hey, I found one in Grants Pass. Okay. We didn't know how to source fruit. We had guidance from Jared and some other people in vineyards that he had worked with, but doing it yourself is a whole different monster.
Yeah.
Reaching out, one is just reaching out. If someone's going to respond, they don't know who we are. And then getting that response back and willingness to work. And then you realize, oh, I have to take a day off work to go drive and get this. So it's balancing both. Like, I need to take a day off. We'll drive to Grants Pass. And it's not just a one-day thing, especially when you're doing another job. It's, all right, we're going to leave at 3 p.m. I'll get off a little early, drive down there, get up at dark 30, and harvest. And you're on someone else's schedule or timeline. Hey, this broke down, or we couldn't get this to work. And so that 6 o'clock pick time now starts at 8 and delays your day. And now you're driving back from either Southern Oregon or wherever else you're at. And that's a delay. So you learn that things are out of your control. You control the things that you can. You prep yourself the best. But yeah, that got way down a different rabbit hole here. But yeah, that all started from just having a meal, conversation. What would we like to do? What do we want to make?
But that's often where we decide to make what wines we want to make. Because we're by no means experts in wine. We didn't really start drinking wine until our 30s. And so, but what we have always enjoyed doing is gathering with friends and going out to eat at really cool places and finding new hole-in-the-wall restaurants. And oftentimes it's accompanied by a beverage. And when we started getting into drinking and exploring what wine is and all the different varietals that are out there, it kind of led us up to this time in our life where we started getting into winemaking. And it changed for us, because then we started really paying attention to the wine and how it made us feel and how it paired with the food and what it meant for us in that moment. So wine for us isn't just like drinking the varietal from what region it's known for. It puts us back to a place of where we were in that moment when we either discovered it or when we had the best glass of whatever that was. And so it's snapshots in time for us. So when we recreate it ourselves, it's not that we're trying to replicate the wine that we had at that moment at that restaurant on that vacation. It's I want us to make the best version of Chenin Blanc. That is a shout out to that Chenin Blanc we had in Hood River that one night with that really cool group of friends. So it's more about experiences for us than it is just about the wine varietal. We try to always make the best wine we can, but it's also a shout out to some of our life experiences we've had.
Chris, take me through, I guess, winemaking growth, both in terms of talent and in terms of space.
Well, that's very kind of you. Talents. So where it kind of started, it was the 50 cases of Chardonnay. That also has a funny story attached to it, because when I called Jared about what turned into be 1 ton of Chardonnay, I said, hey, I can bring in 6 to 7 tons of Chardonnay, and he hung up on me. I'm like, hey, I think we lost connection. He's like, nope, we didn't. He's like, do you know how much, and I say that in jest, but do you know how much 6 to 7 tons of grapes produce? I go, no, not at all.
No,
have no idea. Tell me.
Yeah.
He goes, that's like a lot. Just in simple terms, I didn't know like cases and how many barrels, any of that. I didn't know the foundation. I've seen it and I've been around it, but what it really meant to bring in that much fruit is where it started. So here's these bright eyes and I'm excited I can bring in all this stuff, and you just see the experience go,
Then what are you going to do with all that wine?
What are you going to do with that? Still no idea. Because at the very end of this, your goal is to sell it. And he goes, no one knows who you are. And that's not a knock. It's just when people start out, it's true. Like, no one knows who you are. No one knows anything about us or where we came from, or is there talent there? Are the wines any good? Because you know, you can make wine, and we've been there. We're like, ooh, I don't know if this is going to be where we want it to be, right? And then it usually works out in the end, but you don't know that. So to bring 7 tons of it as a first start was very funny. So that turned into 1 ton, which I am extraordinarily grateful for, because it gave you that opportunity to grow and figure out, is this your thing? Is this our thing? Should you be doing this? And so that's where it started. And then the very next year, we ended up doing Tempranillo, a small amount of that, a small amount of Merlot, and a small amount of Malbec. And our Pinot.
And we also did our first forced carbonated rosé of what kind of rosé?
Oh, Pinot Noir. It was.
Was it Pinot Noir or Tempranillo? Our first crush?
Ooh, yeah, you're right. It was Tempranillo.
Tempranillo. So we actually had like a really cool variety of wines that we were exploring, because we didn't want to specialize in anything. We wanted to learn everything. That was our goal.
Yeah, I didn't want to be locked into, I only make Pinot from our vineyard. Like, well, our interest in our brain works in a way where let's just do what's available and have fun with it. And if it turns out good, let's figure out how to make it great. So it's fine. Let's just work with it. That's kind of how we approach things. It's grit and make it work. So yeah, we had a pretty interesting selection that came in, and that, you go from 1 ton of grapes to 5 ton of grapes. That on paper, that's not very much. But to us, that's a 5x increase. So that it changed the way we thought about things, because logistics in wine is massive. Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to move it? How are you going to store it? Even during the winemaking process, do you have enough tanks? Which we didn't. So then we had to buy more things, and that quickly adds up. And when you're not ready for it, you can take, even if you got free grapes, you still have all the other things behind it that, while exciting to get free fruit and free grapes, Now you have tanks, you have barrels, you have all these other things that we talked about, but it's a real thing that you have to understand, because I joke about this. Every yes on the phone with a grape grower or a wine grower is a $5,000 or $8,000 commitment, right? You're buying the fruit. If you're buying a lot of fruit, that's a lot really fast. But it's down the line. It's when you're buying your glass and you're buying all these things that initially you're not aware of. Now you become quickly familiar with how expensive a phone call is. So I joke every phone call, it goes up every time I tell a story. Every phone call now is like $10,000.
Here we go. Yeah.
For main thing, I just include it. Next year it'll probably be $15,000. I don't know. It could be.
Oh, don't put that on us.
But that's kind of where it started. So we started at 50 cases in 2020, and now we're just under 2,000 cases, and it feels like rapid growth, but a lot of the cases that we were making, we still haven't released yet. So it was that intentional growth. It wasn't just hey, we sold out of this, now we need to make so much more. It's never been about that. It's been about where do we want to be? And if we're looking out 3 or 5 years, we think we would need 1,000 cases of wine. And that would help us with white wines, and then while things are aging, I think that would be a good target. And it worked out really well, but that's guidance from several people, not only in Jared, of course, but you get that experience going, even if you made all this, where's it going to go? And if you don't start making connections with people and doing events and festivals, it's just going to sit there. And it could be the best wine in the world, and I'm not saying that's where ours is, but it could be the best thing in the world, and it's sitting in a case, and no one knows who you are and how much thought and time and energy you put into what you're making. It'll sit there. And then in 30 years or 40 years, when someone finds it, and like, this was really good. Who were they? So telling the story and sharing what we're making is critical to what we're doing. We love when people walk in the door here and we're able to talk to them, and they might have that conversation here where they got a job offer or they got something and they're celebrating it over a glass of something that you handcrafted. I have a hard time thinking of anything from our side that feels better. Is you have people that come in, they share their time with us, just being here, and then they get to share a conversation with their friends and bring people in who, hey, this is a newer wine drinker, perfect, love it, come on in, because we've all been there, and we never want it to feel intimidating. And that's kind of the thing we'll always take and share, is we're always there. We have been there. When we first tried wine, my first wine was at Chico State, and it was $2 Chuck, because it was $2. It was not a great intro to wine, but I understand the importance of it, but it's common. And for a college student to go, Chico State had Sierra Nevada, right? So we had that, and we had really great bars there. So you had the bar beers. That was it. Yeah. So even to try that, I felt at the time like I'm an adult. I'm growing up. I'm trying wine. And while it wasn't what I was looking for, I also had no expectations of where that should be. I didn't know what it would taste like. I didn't know what glass. It was probably not even in a glass, if I recall correctly. It's probably just out of the bottle. Not the best experience, but it was an introduction. And it now has that frame of reference to go, okay, that's what I experienced. I don't want anyone else to do that. Not buy it, but at least put it in a glass or put it in something that you can have a different experience with. So that's kind of what we take here, is bringing people in, having those meaningful moments. Doesn't have to mean something to us, but if they are able to come in and share that story and share the glass or share the bottle, now we're kind of showcasing what wine can do. Even if they weren't a wine drinker to start, they'll at least be more receptive to what it can be. And then they'll go try other places. And that's important. That's really important too.
So you said up near 2,000 cases
Yeah.
now. I assume you're still driving around and delivering each bottle individually, right? Tell me about the evolution of sales and how we got to this space.
Yeah, so there's a small chapter before this Hillsborough tasting room. At about the end of 2022, we realized that we were gaining some popularity online, and we were thinking, maybe, because at the time, Crystal had another job full-time. I had left my public work career, and I knew I wanted to do the whole winemaking thing full-time. We knew we needed an outlet. And we looked at each other and we're like, do we have enough wine to open up a small footprint of a tasting room? The answer was definitely not. But could we make it work? Yeah, we can make it work. Maybe if we're only open maybe 2 days a week, it might work. So we searched different areas in our region of Western Washington County, and the place that had a somewhat available space at the time that was in our price range and also not too overwhelmingly large was in Main Street, downtown Forest Grove. It was a little, 420 square foot former barber shop. Basically a walk-in closet, right? It was tiny. But, there's plenty of tasting rooms in the world you go to that are tiny. You go to Napa Valley, there's some of the places, there's only standing space. So we're like, yeah, we could make this work. Especially with the case count we had, people won't have so much expectations to just have a plethora of wine, and it's a very good start. Because at the time we had 6 different varietals?
Yeah.
6 SKUs, I think?
I think 6 made, but 4 released. So it was,
yeah. We honestly had no business opening up a tasting room. We barely could even have a proper flight. But it didn't matter because we're doing it our way. And so that's all that mattered. And so we opened up our tasting room in Forest Grove, our very first brick and mortar presence as Three Goats Vineyard. November 10th, 2023. That was such a big deal because we never thought we would get to that moment, I guess, so soon. I don't know if we really had a time frame in mind, but we were just so shocked that it was happening. And the reception, I am so grateful to say, for us was so incredible. Packed house all weekend long. Just flying through wine. We had to keep going back to our storage unit to keep refilling the wine. It was literally crazy that it was happening so fast. We're like, is this really happening? Honestly, it's like any business, there's slow days, there's good days. But there were more good days. And we were looking at each other and we're like, is this how it's really gonna go? I think it's happening. I think people are taking us seriously. And about less than a year in at that location, we were like, I can't believe we're saying this, but we can't stay here. We're no longer the startup. We're no longer the place where maybe at that place packed was 14 seats. We often were packing the place to a point we actually were losing business because we had to turn groups away. And we're like, especially me having quit my previous job, this is now my full-time livelihood. I'm seeing dollar signs leave out that door. We literally couldn't afford to stay there. And I realize to this day how fortunate it is to even say that, because there's people that would kill to even get to that point, especially for their own small business. So I realize how lucky we are. And so, couldn't even believe it, but we're basically celebrating our 1-year anniversary there in 2024, and we're already looking for a new space. Is it ideal? No, because it's hard and no one wants to uproot again. Moving sucks no matter what, whether it's your home or a business. But we literally have to. And so we basically came into this space, which I don't even know if we should get into it. It's such a special story of how we found this space. But Hillsborough is a place for us that's very special. We have worked almost all of our professional lives, actually, consistently. Ever since we have been in Oregon, every job we have ever had has been in Hillsborough. It kind of just occurred to me.
Yeah, you're right.
Even now, our own small business is rooted in Hillsborough. We have really deep connections to Hillsborough, and so we found this space, and it was truly serendipitous. It was meant to be. And so we moved here in May of 2025. So what are we, July 1st right now, 2026? We basically just celebrated 1 year here. I can proudly say we are not looking for another space to move. This is where I think we were meant to be. It's the right spot in the right time, attracting the right people. It's the puzzle that fits us right now, and I'm so grateful we are here in Hillsborough right now. Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah, this is a cool spot. It's like our second home, honestly. You're basically sitting in our living room. This is an extension of our home. It's the culture, the vibe, everything that we wanted all along for Three Goats Vineyard.
Tell me about setting it up and kind of what you want the place to be in terms of visually, but also in terms of, I guess, spirit. How do you want people to be in here?
Oh, yeah, go for it. Absolutely. Yeah, no, have at it.
Please add on. So this is where it also comes, again, full circle for me. So remember I told you my original degree is in interior design. I never really got to flex what I had learned and my love and passion for design. I'd never been in a point in my life where I could truly do it. So when I came into this space, it was really, it was more of a blanket canvas. It had white walls, and it's a great space, the perfect bones. I knew that when we were going to move here, I had a vision. I wanted it to be dark, moody, but at the exact same time, airy and light, which doesn't make sense because it almost sounds like a contradiction, but I knew that I wanted an intimate space that felt like an extension of us and our personal living room, and I wanted people to feel like when they pass that threshold, they're literally sitting in Candice and Chris's home. So when I envisioned the design of this place, I said, we are going to paint the walls black because I want the walls and the ceiling to disappear. Because what I want to stand out is the people and the decorative items and the keepsakes and the wine to stand out. The walls are an afterthought. And the colors and the textures in here, it's all very intentional and purposeful. Lots of darker, rich woods and caramel colored leather and dark emerald green couches that have nice texture to sit on, and it's warm and you want to feel it while you're drinking your wine, to like the different kind of play in metals, the juxtaposition of the wood and the soft with hard surfaces. I like things that complement each other. So you're going to see a lot of copper and gold, which is our color. If you look at our label, the 3 is copper. So you will see that reflected in the actual copper counters. You will see shout outs to our color scheme of black, white, and copper throughout the entire tasting room. It's our entire aesthetic. In a nutshell, our whole thing has been approachable luxury. We want people to feel like they deserve this luxury, that they're welcome here, and that but it's very approachable. Anyone is welcome here. You don't have to be a who's who to be here. You deserve the good wine. We want you to come into our living room, hang out with us. Any given day, Chris and I may actually join you for that glass of wine at one of those tables up front, because it's really just about the warm hospitality and an extension of our home for you. We wanted you to have the good stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you have any?
Ditto? I don't know. The actual build out piece of this, because I was just finishing up my job, and we were finishing up in Forest Grove. So for 11 weeks straight, she ran the Forest Grove tasting room solo. And I was here 8 in the morning that's a good average. And then I was here till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, because we were building this out while still running the other tasting room, so yeah.
So that was an intentional decision to do that, but the flexibility and the opportunity to do that we'll never look at the same way again, because that was such a really cool moment in time that we had the time to do it and the flexibility. With a smaller tasting room, you could run it solo. It was still very, very hard. It's a lot of work because dishes and everything else at the end. But in order to pull this off in such a short turnaround, 11 weeks while you're in the forest feels like a long time, but in the long scope of it, 11 weeks was a pretty quick turnaround. This was all white walls. That wall actually that's out there did not exist. We'll show you. It was a full-on 4,000 square foot space that we essentially cut in half. And from that time on, it was literally white walls to this, what you see in 11 weeks. And that morning that we finished up, May 15th, we started May 14th, I think 8 o'clock in the morning. We worked here until 6:30 in the morning. So we were able to see businesses close and birds go to sleep. To seeing the businesses that open at 4:30 in the morning open, and birds wake up as we were hanging the last of the photos. Literally got home by 8 o'clock, took a 2-hour nap, and we were back here at 10:30.
To prepare for the opening, So as you can see, we like to do things really easy.
Yeah, but that's, in a nutshell, that is what we do.
Yeah.
We are not afraid to work hard. And the same token, we're not afraid to encourage other people to work hard as they venture into this, whether it's winemaking or wine growing. Not for the faint of heart, but we don't just talk about it. We've lived every hard moment and every hard minute. We've lived it. And we haven't lived as many hard minutes as other folks in the industry. We will. We'll eventually have that experience. But wow, we're just not afraid to work hard. Just, we'll get it done. Doesn't matter. We'll find time to do it. We'll find that 25th hour in the day. It'll happen. Whether it's tomorrow or the next day, it'll be required. But we'll find it.
Yeah.
Sleep will come eventually. Maybe just a nap.
So we talked a bit about sort of the growth and the evolution for the brand, and the new space. So tell me about sort of how things are going here and about what the next steps are for Three Goats.
The simplest way to say that is things are going really well here. Hillsborough community is incredible, not just from support of our business, but supporting of us. I think that's the magic. It's people have been born and raised in Hillsborough. They love seeing businesses come in, and it's not just talk. They come in, they support, they bring their friends. And we're in a really, really cool pocket in the Tualatin Valley. We're the closest to Portland, so it's just a real quick trip. Just within this block, we have 3 different tasting rooms within a couple blocks. And this, to me, is the gateway to wine country, because you come down Highway 26, get down Glencoe, and you're here. Really, really easy drive. So Hillsborough showed up. We love being a part of it. Really, really powerful and impactful missions for people to donate to different charities. And everybody has their special thing, which is incredible. No one's trying to do what someone else is. You can walk around here, have 10 different experiences, different food, world-class wines, and we're here too. So we can be a part of that. But just from the different varieties of wine and different varietals that we make, and just if you can spend an afternoon in Hillsborough, and if you haven't been here a while, I encourage you to do it. Just take a quick walk around these 3 or 4 blocks, and you will see world-class cuisine, Oaxacan, Indian food, barbecue. I can't even start to do it. And so to be a part of that community and to push Hillsborough even farther in any way that we can has been incredible. But that's a two-way street. We have people that are die-hard supporters, and they didn't know about us, and they walk by. What is this? And they try it, and they just enjoy being here so much with all the intention behind Candice's design to welcome people in. It resonates, and that's the best thing and the easiest way that I can summarize. Being in Hillsborough has been amazing.
I just want to add, like what Chris was saying, which was said really beautifully. What I do love about this location is the easy access for so many people. We're literally walking distance from Max. So we do get a lot of Portlanders. We get a lot of people from Beaverton, Tigard, the surrounding Portland metro area. We've even had people from Vancouver, which is so cool to say, because it is not too far into the more rural areas. It's really just off of the main thoroughfares of like the main freeways, the hubs, you know. We've had people come here literally the day they landed in PDX. We're very fortunate in this location. And when you had asked about next steps and growth, what Chris and I have learned is what I think we do best is when we make decisions that are best for us and for the brand, not what people expect the brand to do or go. We've had questions, hey, do you guys want to expand? Are you thinking about opening up another tasting room or a restaurant or this or that? Which is a great thing to even be asked. But for us, we think this, right now for us, this is what works best. We want to keep improving this tasting room, this footprint. We would love one day to maybe hire more staff. We would love to keep growing on the fun events that we do. And we've also been asked, hey, where else can I get your wine? Great question. As of right now, pretty much our wine is only direct to consumer from this tasting room. And we actually like it that way. We want it to be meaningful. Our goal has really never been to be on the grocery store shelves at Safeway or to be mass, distributed at the Costco's throughout America. That is great for people who accomplish that, because I realize that is a huge feat. But I like where we're at. Chris likes where we're at. We like making small production. We like selling out of each SKU. We don't want to sit on cases and cases of wine and trying to fulfill shipments and boxes where we have to fill the shelves for people who are ordering wine. We love that each person that walks through that door goes home with our wine because they want it, because they chose us, not because it was a convenient choice off of a grocery store shelf. This is the formula that works for us, and for now, this is where we see ourselves for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
No notes.
You talked about events. Give me an example of some of the things you're doing with the space.
Yes.
Oh, love it. I think one that we're the most proud of, and this ties right into the industry. So we do what's called the Headliner Series, where we started and we did a couple of pop-ups and different events. We learned that we got to where we are because of other people in the industry supporting us, no matter whether it's helping us out with where we get our bags or how we get a stamp, all the things that you don't really think about until you're in it. We're like, okay, the indie wine mixer that Eric Berg created several years ago with just 4 or 5 different producers that were all small and just gutting it out and gritting it out together, that's kind of where it started. And then we joined in, 3 years ago already, with the indie wine mixer crew. And it's all a bunch of small producers that are just giving it a go. And you get to lean on each other, and if you have a question about something, you can just put it in the group chat that we all have. And we're like, okay, that's really fun. But for us, we love music. Music is such a central part of what we've always experienced growing up. It's been a part of our lives, well, as long as I can remember, as long as my memory can serve me. So what we created was the Headliner Series, and in the same heart and love that we have been given, we wanted to give that back. So what we end up doing is we invite another smaller winemaker, doesn't matter where they're from, but it's someone that we've made connections with in our little circle. The wine industry is huge, but very small at the same time. So in our huge but small circle, we've met people that have impacted us in one way or the other, and now it's our opportunity. So we kicked it off with Seder Fire, and so we bring in a smaller winemaker, and they're our headliner, and always have supporting acts. Doesn't mean that they're smaller by any means, but the supporting act, we bring in a vendor and a food person as well. So someone who's a local artisan, they craft earrings and jewelry, or wood. There'll be woodworkers. It doesn't really matter, but people that we've met along the way to bring them in to share what they've made. So it's all creators. And then when you bring in another food person or another vendor that loves doing or sharing their things, we've had salsa. We will have some very good charcuterie coming up on the next one. So the headliner series is just showcasing other people. So for that day, we turn off our flights, no flights, but we encourage them to go get flights from the visiting winemaker. So it's such a special community moment. And now, while we're not new anymore, we're in that realm of helping the next part of the Oregon wine industry. If they need a space to pour their wine, that's now the opportunity that we can start giving back. And for us, it's something small that we can do for somebody else, but so meaningful that we can tie in. We'll have live music and bring in another winemaker, and it's special to share that community. So they'll get to come in, share what they're pouring and making, and that's just the most exciting thing, in my opinion. We do some other cool stuff too, but that's like deep-rooted meaning where we thought about that a long time. So even the headliner series posters is like, if you see all the concert posters,
it looks like a music festival.
On the windows, that's what it looks like. So it encourages people to get excited about it, but for good reason. It's not just it's September, I think we should probably do something. We thought about this last year before we could do it here. And those wheels have been in motion for quite a while. And now that we get to have the space to share that's incredibly meaningful. It's so fun. We just love doing it.
Some more events that we also do on top of the headliner series that we love and that we're kind of becoming known for is we like to do a lot of local collaborations. So like for instance, this coming Saturday on 4th of July, we'll be open for a few hours, and we're collaborating with Fat Baby Barbecue, which is a local business right down the street. And they're literally going to hand deliver their barbecue here through a QR code where you can come and drink our wine, order the food, and then you can have their barbecue and drink it with our wine while you're here celebrating the 4th of July. We did it last year. It was a huge success. And so we're doing it again this year after the big 4th of July parade here in downtown Hillsboro. We're gonna kind of summon people in here. Hey, when you're done, we got some really good beverages, some really good barbecue. Let's celebrate America while, eat something really cool and traditional. So we do a lot of collaborations like that. We like to support other local businesses. A lot of times it does end up being food because heck, food and wine is like the best pairing in the world. And then another really cool thing that we do, because we like to kind of give something for everyone, even like little niche interests that people don't often think of. Coming up at the end of this month, we're doing our 3rd book bedazzling class. So there is a local bookseller, Hidden Worlds Bookstore, who is opening up her first brick and mortar in Aranco Station. She is really cool. Her name's Haley. She is a part of this huge kind of like community that we didn't even know about, where these people are hardcore into their books. A lot of it is like, I guess, what is it called? Romantasy novels. It's like this whole world of fantasy. And they have book clubs and just this whole community. Well, basically, on the last Sunday of the month, we're going to shut down half the tasting room. She's selling tickets for people to come and bring their books. She's bringing all the bedazzling tools, like with these little jewels that you can like literally glue onto the cover of the book, and it comes with a glass of wine. So really, the theme that you're hearing here from Chris and I is that we really enjoy bringing in the community. We like variety. We like to keep things fresh, to think of ideas that maybe the wine industry isn't doing, because we're kind of unusual ourselves. So we just like to have fun, and just to have fun with people. And it's also a really cool way to introduce wine to people who would elsewise never have had it. Mm-hmm. We had people in the last book bedazzling classes, that was their first time drinking wine, and it was Three Goats wine. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty darn cool. And we just like to have fun is really the end goal here.
That is a more exciting entry than $2 Chuck. I will say.
Thank you.
That's pretty great. It's pretty great.
Thank you.
You've both talked a lot about the industry and sort of the way you've come into it and been welcomed by it. I'm curious about beyond sort of your personal relationships and mentorship. How have you seen the industry? What does the industry look like to you? How has it grown in these years? And what in 2026, as you look at Oregon wine, what does it look like right now?
Yeah, obviously that's a pretty hefty question, but in general, here's my summary of what I think, and you can add your version of it, even though we talk a lot about it. I think Oregon's special for a few reasons. One, we're not afraid to just come together and go, what can we do differently that others aren't, to see that we succeed? And the we has never, at least as far as I've been aware in any conversation we had, the we has never been brand versus brand or winemaker versus winemaker. The we has been a collective of what have you seen that works well? Or what are you doing that has allowed growth? And we share it, because the really, really cool thing about Oregon wine is while we are all in it together, we're also individual in terms of personalities, how we make wine. I'm sure you've seen it. That's what makes it special. That's what makes it special. So the historical side of it that I've really come to love, and I talk about it all the time, way too much in the tasting room sometimes, just takes me away from my tasks. But we get to see that same briefcase energy that Dick Erath and all the pioneers, I know I'm leaving a bunch of people out just for summary, not because I'm forgetting by any means, but they created this with this wild hair of, we can do something different than California is doing. And that energy, that persistence of, we can grow this here, we can do it. We're the wild child kids, right? But that was in the late 60s and 70s when that started. There's nothing different between them and us, and how I see this is we have different ideas. The timeline is different. Obviously, it's 50, 60 years later, but that's what is going to be maintained in the Oregon wine industry, and that's what we're going to push to do. Is we can take that kind of that baton and run with it, because that is what makes Oregon wine different. Is we have that energy and the uncommon and the unusual to continue that. And if we lose that spark, I think that's where we start getting into danger. And we haven't done that. And we, being the winemakers and the people that do this day in and day out, I think we have maintained that spark. And we keep pushing it. Where we start to get in trouble, I think, is when you have bigger companies or bigger ideas that creep in and think, we need to lean so heavily into this. Mm-hmm. And we need to, marketing can get way out of control, both sides, for pro and con. And what happens at that point is you take away, even though we're still pushing for the specialness and the uncommon that is the Oregon wine industry, it starts getting into other things that aren't helpful. So by doing a bunch of marketing to, you should go do this when you're in the state, or you should go do this when you're in this county or this space, I think that does a disservice to all the people that are really doing the farming and really making the wine, because we know what's special and we recommend everybody and each other all the time. That's the spark. Mm-hmm. But if you start getting into something where it's, come in here and do this one very special thing in the middle of nowhere, that's not what Oregon's about. Oregon's about welcoming everybody in, and then you get to try all these places. Hey, have you been out to the coast and have you tried this? No. Well, go do that. Oh, have you tried this restaurant? No, I didn't even know they were here. Go try that. So it's not the things that make it on a billboard that make the state special or the industry, the wine industry special. It's the conversations with people that come in and go, have you tried them? No, they make 8 bottles a year. But that's how cool
people that make that little.
But that's how cool the Oregon wine industry is you have that specialness that people don't realize or is even here until you start talking about the makers and you start talking to the people who do it. and the people who share stories, y'all included, because it's important, and you get to see from our side, like, we can share everything, and we're open books about anything, as you can tell, but that's where the magic is made. And it's not in this competition of, I'm going to sell one more bottle than that person. That doesn't matter. That does not matter. If you come in this door and you have a great experience, you have a great time, we get to share what we have made and why we do what we do, and then to go, hey, what are your plans next? We don't know. We're probably just going to go head back to the hotel or whatever. Are you trying to go out to dinner? Yeah, but everything's the same. Then you get to unlock that conversation with them and go, have you tried this? No, it's literally on the way back to your hotel. And then we'll get an email. Hey, thank you for the recommendation. Did that benefit us monetarily? No, because that doesn't matter. The specialness and the spark that we need to maintain is built by community, and there's no other way around that. We have to continue maintaining what drives this entire industry, and that's bringing people together. If you start separating people and doing, you should go over here, or don't go there, or don't do this, or whatever, does no one any good. So that's a spark, like, historically wise, but you can add in before you get to the future.
Yeah, I think also what makes Oregon special is the wine is so accessible. So what I mean by that is, not to diss California in any means, but it has gotten so big that it's not very approachable anymore. A lot of people don't even want to pay for what the tasting flights are nowadays because it's a crazy cost. So in Oregon, at any given region or winery, you could probably have a conversation with the winemaker. You probably could have a conversation with the people that are actually making the wine, running the company, the small business, whatever you'd like to call it. There's something very special about that, where it's thinking very small in a big industry, where, I mean, just us and Danu and Resolute down here, we're all the owners and winemakers ourselves, and we are the ones pouring behind the counters. So you have easy access to us because we want to be here, because we are the brand. I think that's what makes Oregon so special, and why we're in this bubble between Washington and California. We have this creative spirit. We have this thing where we want to be weird. We want to be different. We want to, walk to the beat of our own drum, and we refuse to not do that. So I think it's because we stay the course, we do what we're gonna do at all, no matter what, and you can't tell us elsewise. It's like this fighting spirit for the greater good that is undeniable in this state. And we also know it for a fact that when we do get customers coming in here, they tell us they're always looking for the small producers. They don't want to go to the big, I guess you could say, factory-made wine companies. They want to know the story behind the wine. That's what the wine consumer, in our experience, wants today, is they want to feel connected to the bottle that they're taking home to their dinner table. It's not about getting the cheapest wine at the bottom of the shelf. It's about getting something that's meaningful for what they paid for. Yeah.
Yeah. Future-wise, I think it was the other side. I think continuing down that path of just community and making sure that we're all, it's kind of, I look at it this way, it's our honor and privilege now to continue moving it forward. So I have never not taken a call from somebody. I've never not answered a text message. Hey, this is what I'm running into, what can I do? That needs to maintain for the future of Oregon wine to keep going. We've talked to some bigger winemakers, and they still do the same thing. No matter what. There can be 100,000 cases, 200,000 cases. So the scale is different, but the energy and the drive, the camaraderie to make Oregon wine persist, not just survive. Oregon wine is not going to survive. And what I mean by that is we're not in the struggle to we're going to do whatever it takes to survive. We're not in that mindset. We're going to keep doing that wild child thing and have that spirit and the spunk and be able to have fun with it even if it's not the most common thing that other people are doing, that's what is going to continue to drive it. There's no need to go into panic mode for anything. It's keep doing what we do well, keep supporting the people that need help that come up, because guess what? We're going to need help. And it's a privilege to be able to help somebody else out when they run into a problem. Because on the flip side, we've also received those calls. That worked out so well, thank you. Like that, I mean, that can drive that emotion from, I remember we talked about that a year ago, and then now they're releasing it, or they're opening up their first tasting room. And to see the magic in their eyes that we could have easily squashed. Anybody, when we reached out for help, the vineyard managers, anybody else, they could have went, don't do it.
They could have.
And that's always been our mantra, is to never say that to somebody.
Yeah.
Because if someone had done that to us early on, I don't know if that energy would have been there. It goes back to not knowing what we don't know. That's also special, because you can take guidance from somebody, but if you only take guidance and you don't do it on your own a little bit, you likely won't do anything. Because it's easy to say no to somebody, but it's so rewarding and so much more impactful to help somebody out, to see that spark, and now they're the ones that get to go and share that with somebody else. So
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward, always, 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 always. And it doesn't, that 5-minute conversation could save somebody's passion, could drive them in a different way, or just inspire them to help somebody else out too.
Yeah.
So that's to me, the future is continuing that uncommon, loving share of what this whole industry is.
So at some point in our conversations before this interview, you alluded to a new project that you guys are diving into. So I'm curious about the future for yourselves. What's on your horizon? What are you excited about?
The main one is that we're able to just keep everything on site at our place. So our winery and our vineyard and our home is still maintained on the same property in Gaston. And the goal, the bigger project that we were trying to do, was to keep everything there. So now we get to have our cold room and everything on site, so we can just rely on ourselves. So the big project down the road might be not anything in stone yet, but just like we were helped out and Jared was able to give us a space when we first started out, that may be in the plans for us for the next up and coming winemaker, someone who has that glimmer in their eye, to give them that opportunity and that space to grow. Again, tying back into that Oregon wine culture. I think is the better way to say that, is to help the next up and give them the guidance and give them the experience on, hey, you don't need to bring 10 tons of Chardonnay in here. Let's start with one and see if you like it. So that's kind of in the background, is if that space becomes available and we figure out what we're doing in our own spot, then paying that forward would be a big thing.
Anything else you're looking ahead to? Anything else you're excited about?
I'm just excited for us to keep discovering new varietals that we haven't done before. It's kind of what we're becoming known for, is you take a look at our wine list and people are like, what's Shoei Reba? Or, like there's a few uncommon ones there. And it's just fun to be able to discover the wine with our guests. A lot of times the wines that we're making, it's the first time we've ever made them. And so we don't really know what we're doing sometimes, but we know what it takes to make what we think is good wine. And we use that mindset and guidance for every single varietal we do. So I'm just excited for the wines we haven't made yet, because I know it's gonna be fun and it's gonna be weird and it's gonna be awesome.
Excellent. The last question for you, and I think it's probably the most important question. You started this whole project out because you wanted your mom to have a nice vineyard to look at. How has she enjoyed the vineyard?
She is more proud than I can even start to talk about. I can only imagine as a parent when your kid or kids decides to go, we're going to plant a vineyard and do something that we have not been trained in. I still see her face, that balance of being excited and the, what, you're gonna do a what now? And then to see where it goes each year and each iteration, even through the troughs, because when the deer started eating the vineyard, I walked out there at one point, and it is what it is. When you've tried something so hard and you're standing in the middle of everything that's just been destroyed, there's no other way to say it than just be completely emotional and be like, I'm done. That was probably one of the lowest parts in this, is probably in 2019, just being in the middle of it, and the second time they came through and ate everything, and just standing in the middle of vineyard, and I was crying. Because until you've done all of that, all the work, the mud, the planting, the years of experience, and you just sit there in the middle of it and go, I don't know if this was the right decision. It is very, very rock bottom humbling to go, is this the moment that we just stop? And it wasn't. It was okay, now I'm going to put up a fence. And that's what triggered that start, is that rock bottom, low emotional point, just standing in the middle of just pure destruction by deer, of all things to not think about. And then go back a couple of years when we tell my mom to go, that we were going to do this and start this adventure. And the excitement, I think, is where I was projecting onto myself. She was really excited for what we were going to do and supportive, and you guys got this. And then to probably hear your son go, everything's screwed up, I'm super sad, and for her to still push through that and be supportive, but also probably go, man, that has to hurt. Mm-hmm. That hurts your heart when you're doing all that work, and it just feels like it gets ripped out temporarily. To now, I think we are at the most beautiful stage that our vineyard has ever been at, making some very special Pinot from all that heartache and heartbreak to persist and keep going. Yes, she is very excited and happy to be able to walk out there and see that every day, and to see her smile and just get a text message like, oh, it looks good. Or she knows I've been out there late and doing that. She's like, hey, good job. Do you need any water or drink? She lovingly has taken on the role of beverage manager.
She has infinite amounts of water bottles and Gatorade. Yeah.
And she has improved her aim substantially, that she can toss water bottles down to me. So it's going really well. But to see all the emotions and all the things to now go through, and she can walk out and see everything. And one step further is she does a lot of volunteering in Washington County, thousands of hours a year. And she talks about it. And so all the photos that I send, I'm like, here's the update and here's where the vineyard's progressing, she'll show other people. And that, as a kid, for sure, to get your, I'm sorry, I probably just destroyed your microphone. Twice, she's over there. But to have that as a kid, to see your parent sharing what you've done, and all the years, like the embarrassing stuff, like, look at his new haircut in 4th grade. Now it's hey, they built this whole thing from nothing and planted a vineyard, and to share that with the family, best feeling in the world.
Her name is Deanna Plewik, and she's a total angel. And I would say, I think her biggest perk of living where she's at, because she's literally 100 steps from our front door. Anytime we are barrel tasting or release a new wine, she's the first to taste it. So Chris will literally, like, in our kitchen, pour a glass of wine and literally hand walks it over to her. And he walks in, and she just sits there on her recliner and goes like this, like the queen that she is. And she often gets to taste test everything. And so I know she's really enjoying it, because she's along the journey with us.
And then all of our family back home, you get to send stuff out, and like, I can imagine all the families that are now, I would call it vicariously living through whoever decides to get into this venture. There's always that hesitation of they're planting a vineyard, they're doing a winery, they're making wine. You can pick anybody. They've had family members who are like, oh, great. Great. Apparently you were a millionaire before you started this. No, that is not accurate. But you then get to share these things that it's always stories and photos of, this is what we're going to do. And look we just planted the vines, and they look at it and go, nice. great. And then you send them finished wine in bottle, and they go, holy smokes. Well, and then people will come in and ask the question, well, how long have you guys been doing this? Almost 10 years. That's wild to think. All the excitement that we're talking about now, it's 10 years of this. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, but you get to share that with family, and then they realize, you guys are insane, one, and two, good job. So they still get the support, but it's a wild experience to go from where you were to where you are now, and we're still excited for the next steps. We're still excited about what has happened. So it's not, it completely outweighs the down periods and the darker times of just sitting like in the middle of the vineyard and going, well, deer got it all again.
But not anymore.
Not anymore. So it's been fun. It's all positive experience. We all get to see it now. And you get to walk out and you're like, okay, here's a sense of pride and figuring out. Went from not knowing what we were doing to, oh, okay, I think we have a decent grasp on what's happening.
I think she's enjoying seeing us be happy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, all the questions I have for the two of you today. Anything I didn't ask that I should have? Anything we didn't talk about that you need to talk about?
Probably, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think we talked your ears off.
Well, I appreciate that. That is the goal here. So thank you both so much for taking the time to share with us. Thank you for sharing this
Absolutely.
space with us.
Pleasure.
Gosh, we're so honored. Yeah.
Congratulations on what you've achieved so far in this beautiful space.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thanks for
you.
sharing your story. We'll let you off the hook.
Thank you, all
Appreciate it
three of you. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.